Think back to when you were 18. What were you like? What did you value? Now, imagine someone handed that version of you a cheque for £250,000 with no strings attached. Be honest with yourself. Would you have invested it wisely? Used it to build a future? Maybe you would have. But let's face it, at 18, most of us were still figuring out who we were, let alone how to manage hundreds of thousands of pounds. So, what happens when a teenager suddenly inherits a large sum of money with no guidance, no structure, and no one to say pause and think? The following isn't just a cautionary tale, it's a powerful reminder of why how you leave money is just as important as how much. Hi folks, I'm Jim from ELM Legal Services. We work with families across England and Wales, helping them protect their estates and pass things on the right way. Today's episode isn't just about money. It's about grief, impulse, and what happens when well-meaning people leave large inheritances without any structure. In this video, we're telling that story, and more importantly, we're going to show you how simple tools like trusts and age-based clauses can stop the same thing happening in your family. Jay was someone people liked, friendly, quick-witted and loyal to his friends, but life hadn't been easy. A tough childhood and ongoing anxiety left him carrying more self-doubt than most. By his 20s, he was still searching for direction and often kind of leaned on alcohol to get through. When his grandfather passed away, Jay was devastated. His granddad had been the one steady figure in the whole of his life, the person who always believed in him. In his will, his grandfather left him £250,000 with a note that simply said, "This is yours now, make it count." At first, Jay did try. He paid off some debt, he rented a better flat and bought a car. But with no guidance, the pressure to make it count became overwhelming. He struggled to cope. And instead of helping him build a stable future, the inheritance actually fueled habits that he was already finding hard to manage. What started as more nights out gradually turned into heavier reliance on alcohol and later other substances. And before long, the money had gone. And so had many of his connections, leaving him isolated, distant from family and weighted down by guilt. The truth is, Jay wasn't reckless or greedy, he was grieving and struggling. A sudden inheritance can be just as challenging as it is life-changing. This is why structured planning matters, not to restrict, but to make sure support and safeguards are actually there when they're needed most. Jay's story might feel extreme, but sadly, it's not that uncommon. Inheriting a large sum of money can be a life-changing opportunity. But for someone who's in a vulnerable place, it can also be a difficult one to handle. Without the right safeguards in place, even the most well-intentioned inheritance can bring unintended challenges. If someone isn't in a stable position emotionally or practically, receiving a large amount all at once can be overwhelming and may lead to decisions that don't reflect their long-term best interests. That's why careful planning makes such a difference. By putting the right structures around an inheritance, we help protect the value of the assets and, more importantly, support the person receiving them. It gives them the time, space and stability they need to make considered decisions and build something lasting from what they've been given. The good news is stories like Jay's are avoidable, and you don't need to be a millionaire or a legal expert to make it happen. With the right planning, you can pass on your wealth and protect the person receiving it, especially if they're young, vulnerable or going through a difficult time. The two most effective tools we use for this kind of protection are discretionary will trust and age-specific clauses. Now these are both written into your will and come into effect after you pass away. So let's take a closer look at how they actually work. A discretionary will trust gives you the power to leave money for someone while building in a vital layer of protection. Instead of passing the entire sum directly to the beneficiary, you appoint trustees, people you trust, to look after that money and manage it responsibly. Those trustees then decide how and when to release funds, guided by the wishes you've left behind. Now, this type of trust can make all the difference, especially when a beneficiary is grieving, vulnerable, or simply just not ready to handle a large lump sum. It ensures the inheritance is used in a thoughtful, supportive way, whether that means helping with education, housing, therapy, or simply releasing money gradually over time. This isn't about withholding money. It's about recognizing that life is complicated, grief is messy, and sometimes too much too soon can do more harm than good. With a discretionary will trust, you're not just leaving money. You're leaving care, structure, and the space for your loved one to grow into the future you always hope for them. Another great protective option is adding an age-specific clause to your will. Instead of releasing everything at once, this clause allows you to spread the inheritance over several milestones, such as giving a small percentage at 21, a larger share at 25, and the rest at 30 or later. It's a simple legal step that can lead to much better outcomes. The idea isn't to restrict your loved ones, it's to protect them. It gives them time to mature, make a few mistakes, and build life experience before taking on a large financial responsibility. It also ensures they have support at meaningful points in the journey, like starting a career, buying a home, or raising a family. This kind of structure turns a one-time windfall into a steady foundation. It helps ensure your gift becomes a springboard to a better life, not a source of regret. Now imagine the same story but with a different plan. Let's say Jay's grandfather had set up a discretionary will trust instead of leaving a lump sum. He names Jay's mum and his godfather as trustees, two people who know Jay very well and understand the struggles that he's got. Now, instead of £250,000 landing in Jay's account all at once, the trustees release small amounts gradually, enough to help him pay off debts, enough for a decent flat, maybe even support for some counselling or therapy if needed, but not so much that it fuels the difficulties he's already facing. Alternatively, imagine there was an age-specific clause in the will. Jay gets 10% at 21, enough for independence, then 30% at 25, by which time he's had a few more life experiences and hopefully more support. The rest comes at 30, when he's had a chance to grow into himself. Now, Jay still grieves for his grandfather, he still wrestles with his demons, but he's not overwhelmed by sudden wealth. He's not isolated, he has structure, he has support, and most importantly, he has time. The money becomes a way to support his progress, not to intensify the challenges already in his life. And his grandfather's legacy, it isn't something weighing on him, but the opportunity that helped him move forward. Jay's story isn't unusual. Across England and Wales, more estates than ever are being passed down to younger generations. With house prices continuing to rise, even modest estate can turn into substantial windfalls. That means many people are now inheriting large sums of money in their 20s, often at a time of life already full of change, pressure and emotion. The challenge is that sudden wealth received at the wrong time and without guidance can do real harm. It's not about young people being irresponsible, it's about how grief, expectation and financial pressure can leave anyone feeling overwhelmed. This is why the way you pass on wealth matters just as much as the amount. A discretionary will trust or an age-specific clause can provide structure, reducing stress, avoiding rushed decisions and ensuring inheritance supports your loved ones rather than risks holding them back. Trusts and age-based clauses aren't barriers, they're safety nets. They give beneficiaries something more valuable than money alone: security, support and time to grow. Thoughtful planning today could be the reason someone you love stays on the right path tomorrow. If anything here has raised questions about trust, beneficiaries or just where to begin, we're always here to help with clear, straightforward advice that puts your family first. Thanks for joining us today. If this video has helped, Please give it a like, subscribe, and share it with someone who's going to benefit. The more we can raise awareness about the importance of estate planning, the more families we can help avoid unnecessary stress and heartache down the line. Remember, a little planning today can make a big difference tomorrow. So until the next time then, stay safe, stay informed, and stay tuned.